Hey guys, so I decided to start making some videos of me playing through all the material and the packets that I've been giving you. So if there's anything we've been going over in class and you just still feel like you need extra help with it, or you just need to hear it more times, hopefully these videos will help you with that, okay? So this week we'll be covering the one that starts with the Office theme, okay? So I'm just gonna go through and play this one. This one's pretty self-explanatory. If you need to know how it sounds, just YouTube the Office theme. The video should come right up. Just listen to that a few times. I'm going to go through everything just kind of how I see it on the paper, okay? Starting with the piano part. Before we get into this, I'm just going to talk about some picking things. For the piano part, I'm using I and M for every chord that I have, and I'm using the thumb for the bottom note that's in the G string. Now, I know we talked about the thumb usually only plays the first three strings. But in this case, it's a little bit different because we're not playing any lower than that the entire time with this part. And it sounds better to have the chords being together here and then separated by the thumb. It provides just a different enough tone to make that part stand out. In terms of the harmonica and accordion part and the bass line, I would just use I and M for those. And then for the guitar part in the bottom, you can use a pick or, kind of just fold your middle finger over your thumb and use that part, okay? So here we go, Office theme. 1, 2, ready, and. Okay, moving on to Hey There, Delilah. Same thing with this one, guys. The picking technique I'm using I and M together for the dyads. Dyads just means a two-note chord, and I'm using the thumb for whatever the bass note is, okay? This one's pretty self-explanatory. Just listen to the song if you don't know it, but it's very, very easy. There's one spot in the chorus that's tricky, in the second and fourth measure of the chorus, where your hands are switching from this to this, okay? So maybe work on that ahead of time and just start with the first chord and do that back and forth. Okay? And watch for when you have quarter notes, because that's a good thing. That's when you let a note ring out and you have time to move on to the next one. So here's Hey There, Delilah, both pages with no repeats. Ready, and. That's all you need to do for that one. Moving on to the next page. Okay, so one of the trickier things in this packet, guys, is the bar chords. Okay, so here's what I would do. I would just learn the first one and make sure you know how it works, okay? So all you're gonna do, the easiest way to do it is to take an E major chord. It's one that sounds like that. If you can't remember that one, pause the video, look at your old charts, see if you can find that one, okay? And then unpause it. So the easiest way to do the first one is we're going to play that first E major chord, and then we're actually going to play the chord again, but we're going to rearrange our fingers so that our pointer finger is not using a string. So instead of this, my pinky free, I'm going to redo it with my pointer finger free. Same sound, okay? Now I'm going to move that up one fret to this, and then I'm going to take my index finger and lay it across all 6 strings. So that would sound like this. This is going to be the first chord in the packet on the left where it says E shape major with an E string root. If I gave you the tab of what this chord is that I'm playing, just to make sure your hands are right, it would be 1, 3, 3, 2, 1, 1. Okay, so that's the first one. That would be major. The E minor shape, we're going to do the same thing, but now I'm going to take my middle finger and take it off, okay? So the one thing you have to worry about this one, guys, is without the middle finger here, we need more support from our index finger for the bar to make it so it rings out. So your G string might be sound like this when you try to play this chord, okay? Here's what the tab would look like for that. It would look like 1, 3, 3, and then 1, 1, 1. Here's what it sounds like if it rings out. Okay. Here's the good thing about that chord, though. We can use our middle finger, now that we don't need it for anything, to kind of overlap our index finger, which gives you more strength to put down. To make sure that G string rings out just fine, okay? Without that G string note, our chord has no quality. It's not major or minor. It's not happy or sad, so we really need that note. Right, so don't do that. Okay, the next two, the third chord on that paper is the most difficult. It's the A shape. So again, what I would do is I'd start with your A major chord, which looks like 0, 2, 2, 2, 0. Okay, I'd rearrange my fingers to play the same chord, but with my pointer finger free now. Okay, that's the shape I need, and then I move that up to all threes, and then put the first finger down. The nice thing about this one, though, guys, is we're not going to play our low E string at all, okay? So the A shapes for both major and minor only use the last 5 strings, okay? So here's what that would sound like. Okay, that's probably your toughest one on there because you got to cram these 3 fingers here together all in the same fret, and it's really difficult to do that and get the bar, okay? And our last one is probably our easiest one, actually. If we go back to our very first bar chord that we learned, the 1, 3, 3, 2, 1, 1. If we just move everything down a string like this, so that it's going this way now, and then don't play the low E string, we'll have our A minor shape. Okay, tab for that would be nothing on the E string, and then 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1. Okay. So the first thing you guys need to do with the bar chord section is you need to make sure you can play all 4 of those shapes and that you can get a good sound. So if I review them again, first one would sound like this. Okay, second one sounds like this. Third one sounds like this. Fourth one sounds like this. If you're playing these and it sounds like this, okay, then you need to figure out what's going on with your hand and your fingers to make it so that the sound is not ringing out, okay? I'll also give you the advice that the lower you play, the harder it is to push down the strings. So you might want to take a shape that you're learning, and if you're having trouble with it, maybe move it down, maybe to the 8th fret. It's a lot easier to play the notes. The frets are closer together, so you don't have to stretch as much, okay? Okay, so once you know all 4 of those, the quiz part is actually me giving you a shape and a key to play it in. Okay, so if we start, what I'll say is I'll say something like, play your E shape in the key of G sharp. Okay, so my E shape again is the first one we went over. It looks like this. Okay, but I need to play that in the key of G sharp. So that's why you have to, let's see if I can flip this around. Oh, I can't. You have to look at this fretboard chart. Okay, I can't see what the camera sees, but we're looking at this chord here, okay, which is the E shape, and we need to play it in the key of G sharp. So the E shape means my root is on the E string, so I need to check down here for G sharp. G sharp is the 4th fret, and that's where I would play that, okay? So if I played that in the G sharp, I would play at the 4th fret, 1, 2, 3, 4, I'd play that here, okay? So you kind of have to know the shapes really well from memory, and what key they're in, okay? And you can use the chart for the quiz to make sure you know what key it's in, but you got to be able to find it quick enough, okay? So you can quiz yourself with that. You can on the low E string, just call out random pitches for yourself and try to figure out where they are. So for example, if I wanted to play C on the low E string, if I looked at my chart, that tells me it would be at the 8th fret. So I'd count up. So I got to 8th fret, and then I'd play whatever shape I needed there. Okay, and then the A shape chords for A and A minor are the same thing, but they're going to use the A string as the root. So you want to look at the second line in the fretboard paper and use that. So if it was in the key of D, I'd look at the paper for that, and it would be the 5th fret. After the 5th fret on the A string now, and play the chord that goes there. Okay? So the bar chord test is one of the hardest parts of the test, guys, because the shapes are new and they're kind of difficult and they're going to hurt your hands, and then you also have to be able to put them in different spots on the guitar and memorize where those are, okay? All right, going on again to the scales now, okay? The scales are not that tough at all. There's 2 of them you have to memorize, and same thing with the bar chord test. I'm going to have you play them in different keys, okay? So first thing I would do is I would learn the one that says 6V2, which is the top one on the paper. So hopefully it's showing you this, but that's the one I would learn first. And I would just learn the tab. Don't look at the top line, look at the bottom line with the tab. So if I played that, reading the tab, I'd be starting at the 8th fret, and that would look something like this. For picking, as far as anything is concerned with scales, you can just do IM. You don't have to do anything crazy with the thumb or alternating stuff like this. Just do. It's the one that makes the most sense. So the first thing you guys are going to want to do with the scales is just make sure you can play them up and down. You know, read the tab. It's 8, 10, 7, 8, 10, 7, 9, 10, etc. Okay? And then you want to kind of commit that to memory and what that looks like, okay? And make sure, guys, that you're using the right fingers, okay? Do not start the first note of the scale with your index finger, okay? We kind of want to use it as one position, okay? So if my lowest note in the scale is going to be the 7th fret and my highest note is the 10th fret, I want to kind of keep my fingers in the designated columns of frets so they're not really stretching outside. So I'll show you a more zoomed in picture. Every time I'm playing the 7th fret, I'm using the index finger. Every time I'm playing the 8th fret, I'm using the middle finger. Every time I'm playing the 9th fret, I'm playing the ring finger. And every time I'm playing the 10th fret, I'm using the pinky. So here's what that looks like zoomed in. So the nice thing about playing it that way with the fingers like that is, one, it's not only the most efficient way to play it, like if you're trying to play it extremely fast, those are the fingers you need to use, but it also helps you memorize it, okay? There's a little shape here that has to go with the chords, okay? And that's right here is what you want to be visualizing on the neck when you're playing this. Do, 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 do. You want to be able to see that, okay? So there's 2 scales to learn. The first one is the one that we did here. Okay, and that would be in the key of C because my first note is an 8. And if we go back to our chart on the other paper for a second, on the low E string, the 8th fret is C. I know it's probably backwards in the video, but you get the idea, okay? So if I asked you to play that scale in the key of A, you would just use that paper to figure out which number A is, and you would start the scale there. So if we did that in the key of A, it'd be at the 5th fret right here, and you would do the same thing in the same order with the same fingerings there. Okay. The other scale is not that bad either, but when you get to the top, it kind of stretches out a little bit and goes pretty far on the high E string, so it's a little bit tough to kind of visualize. So I'm going to play that one just the way it's written in the tab, which also starts at the 8th fret, but now we're starting on the A string, okay? Here's what that looks like in slow motion. I'm going to shift up after that to 8th fret, and then slide my pinky down for 13, and then back. Shift it back to 7th position. Okay, so that one's a little bit harder to memorize because the shape is not as nice and it kind of stretches out. It's not just, you know, between these 4 frets. I'm here, and then when I get to the B string, I have to move it down by 1. And when I get to the E string, I have to stretch the pinky up to 13 and back. Okay, so that one's going to take you a little bit more time, but just do it. It's very easy. It's very possible. It just might take you a little bit longer to memorize than the other scale. And same thing with that one. I'll ask you to play that in a certain key. So if I played that in the key of C sharp, I'd use my paper to figure out where C sharp is. C sharp is the 4th fret on the A string, so I'd start it there. All right, moving on. We're on the Steve Vai 10-hour guitar workout on exercise 2 now, okay? This one is not that bad. It just is a little bit confusing. Basically, it's a variation on exercise 1. Exercise 1, we were playing up and down the strings like this. Using all 4 fingers in succession from our pointer finger to our pinky, and then when we got down to the high string, we'd move our shape down by 1 and then go backwards, starting with the pinky. And then when we got down to the bottom, we'd move up to the 3rd position and go up again. Go up to the next position and go in reverse. Okay, and so on and so on. So the difference with figure 2 is now, every time we go up a string, we're actually going to change the finger that we start on. So the first string is normal. But now when I go up to the 2nd string, I'm going to start with my middle finger this time. Okay? Then the next string, I'm going to start with my ring finger. And then I'm going to start the G string with my pinky. Okay? So if I review that, 1st string starts with the pointer finger, 2nd string starts with the middle finger, D string starts with the ring finger, and the 4th string starts with the with the pinky. After you've done that, the B string resets and starts back at the pointer again, which means our high E string will start at the middle finger, and then here's where it gets confusing. So I reset my cycle on the B string, I start with my pointer finger, E string start with my middle finger, which means the next thing I play needs to start with my ring finger, but I also need to shift down a position, and that's where it gets tricky. So I'll do it really slow, starting in the B string where the cycle resets, then middle finger. Now I'm going to shift down to 2nd position, and then start with my ring finger. And then go down a string and start with the pinky. And all of a sudden our cycle resets again, but now it's on the G string, and we just work our way down. Pointer finger first, then middle finger, ring finger, and pinky. Okay? After that's done, you shift down again to the 3rd position and start with the index and do it all over again. Here's what it sounds like a little bit faster. Index finger first, then middle, then ring, then pinky. Reset to pointer, middle finger, shift up and go to the ring finger, pinky, index, middle, ring, and then pinky, shift up, and start on the 1st fret, okay? So that's one that I would just memorize what it looks like and read the numbers of the tab very slowly. It's definitely not very hard to do, it's just very easy to get confused. Okay? Now, again, guys, the point of doing these exercises is not to play them fast or not to do, anything crazy or flashy with them. It's to work on the technique of our hands and make sure that they're only doing exactly what they're supposed to do and not anything extra. So what I mean by that is if I have my finger like this and my other finger's down here, I'd have to use all of this force to bring them up to get to the string in time. And there's no point in doing that. Okay? So you want to hover the fingers above the strings all the time when you're playing, so that you want them to be as close to the note as possible without touching the note until it's time to play that note, okay? You also want to make sure your fingers are curved when you're playing, okay? If you're collapsing the joints like this, you're not going to get as good of a sound, and it's also going to be hard to move, because if the joint is collapsed, you have to uncollapse it first and then lift it up. Whereas if the fingers are curved, you just lift them up. It's not that big of a deal. You also want to make sure that you're still playing as close to the frets as possible. So if I demonstrate here, if I play in the middle of the fret, it sounds okay. But if I play like right on the fret, that's the best sound I can get. And this is something I struggle with too. Okay? But that in a nutshell is the Steve Vai exercise 2, okay? For the synchronization one, guys, the one that looks like this page, I really just want you to do the last line, okay? It's actually really easy, and it looks like this. On the G string, you're going to play 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you're going to play 4, 3, 2, 1. And then you're going to do that again 2 times, but twice as fast. So here's what it looks like. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2. Okay. So this is really just working on I and M. And it's really just a kind of a speed exercise to get better at picking. So you want to start it slow and build up to it. And do that over and over again with the metronome until you can do like... Okay. I even struggle with that. That's very hard for me too. Okay. Okay, so now we have to go on to the arpeggio one. This one is very easy. It's just kind of a lot to memorize, but this is something we're going to do all year long, okay? First thing we have to know is that the fingerings are going to use P, I, and M in that order, and then it's going to switch to 4, 4, and then we're going to do P, I, M, I, okay? So the only thing that's important in this is the right hand, so I'll do my best to zoom in on this. We're going to start with just the last 3 strings like this. Okay, then the thumb is going to move down by itself. Then the other 2 fingers are going to move down towards the thumb. Then the thumb moves down by itself again, sorry. And the fingers catch up to the thumb. Sorry, it's hard to do this and look at the camera at the same time. Then the thumb moves down again. And the fingers join the thumb again. Go up by themselves, or the thumb stays in the low E string. Fingers go up again, and fingers go up again. So now my fingers and my thumb are as far apart as they possibly can be. After I've done this a little bit, my thumb is going to go up a string, 1 string at a time, until it catches up again. Now, when I get to the last 3 strings again, which is what I started with, I'm going to change my picking pattern to P, I, M, I, and then do the exact same thing again, okay? So, in short, it's, and I'll do the whole thing in a second, but it's the last 3 strings, then the thumb moves down, then the fingers catch up with the thumb here, then the thumb moves down, then the fingers catch up with the thumb again, thumb moves down, fingers catch up one last time, so now I'm on the first 3 strings, and then the fingers are going to creep their way up while the thumb stays where it is until they're far apart again, and then the thumb moves up too. Okay, so here's the whole thing so you can practice with this. Ready? Starting here, and thumb goes down, fingers go down, thumb goes down, fingers go down, thumb goes down, fingers go down on the low strings now, fingers up, fingers up, fingers up. Now thumb goes up to A string, E string. Okay, when I go up now, I'm going to switch to P, I, M, I. Ready? Thumb goes down, fingers down, thumb down, fingers down, thumb down, fingers down, fingers up, fingers up again, fingers up. Thumb's gonna go up, ready, and up. Last one. So where we started. And that's the whole thing of that, okay? Looks like we only have 2 things left in the packet. The imitation duet, guys, is very, very, very easy. Just write it in the notes if you don't know them. Write in the numbers if you need them, blah, blah, blah. But find a reliable partner in class to work on this with so you can make sure it's evening out, okay? I'm going to start with guitar 2, actually, so you can hear how that sounds. Guitar 2 is setting the beat, so wherever the count is, that's where the guitar 2 is playing. So the first 4 notes are C, open E, F, and then G. So if I count 1, 2, 3, 4, it's going to sound like this. If I do 1, 2, 3, 4, it'll be... And if if I do 1, 2, 3, 4, it'll be okay. So whoever's counting, make sure you're following the pulse of the count if you're guitar 2. Here's what it sounds like at a reasonable tempo. 1, 2, guitar 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, second line. Okay, the last 2 lines of guitar 2 are the same as guitar 1 basically, so I'm going to play guitar 1 now. Okay, here's what guitar 1 sounds like. 1, 2, ready, and 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. Okay, so check your notes. It shouldn't be that hard, and play with play with the partner. Again, the first 2 lines are the same as the last 2 lines for someone else's part. So if you can play with your partner, and if they know a part that you don't, then you can just ask them for help because it'll be the same thing. Okay, last one we're going to do is exercise 22, the bottom half of this. Okay, so right here only. Here's what it sounds like. Again, guys, we use the thumb for all of our low notes, or the notes where the stems are kind of pointing down, or if they're the bottom of the chord, and then I and M for everything else. So here's what that sounds like. 1, 2, ready, and 2, 3. You don't have to play it that fast, but you want to play it with that kind of consistency and fluidity between the notes and letting everything ring out just as long as it's supposed to be, okay? I'm going to try and probably fail, but I'm going to try to sight read exercise 23. Not really sure if I want this on the test or not because it is kind of hard, but just in case anyone out there is trying to do it. Here's what exercise 23 sounds like. It's in 3/4 and same idea as exercise 22. 1, 2, 3, ready, and go. 2, 3. That one's pretty difficult, so we'll leave that one alone. Anyway, guys, I hope this video helps you out. I know it's hard to get around to everybody in class when we're doing this stuff throughout the week, especially before quizzes. But use this video to get an in-depth look on anything else that you can't figure out by yourself. And I'm going to put the timestamps in there too. So if you pull up the video and let's say you only need help with like the Steve Vai 10-hour guitar workout, if you look in the description, there should be a timestamp to that. So I'll try to figure that all out for you. And as always, when you're working at home and you get to something you don't know how to do or you don't understand it, write something in your packet on that page to remind you so that when you're in class that you can raise your hand and ask me about it, okay? All right, good luck.